One person paid $960 for this book at a 9.8, and another this year went for $300. Which buyer are you going to be?
You can't overpay on this book.
Prices that I think would be worthy if there was a movie or not. The hottest books in the world, covering the books moving up in value every single week. Hit the subscribe button while we talk about number 10 on the list from 1968.
Man, 1968 was a prolific year for history, one of the most prolific in the 1900s. There was the assassination of Martin Luther King. Another Kennedy was assassinated. Nixon won the White House. There were protests in the Olympics and universities. Heck, Mr. Rogers aired on TV.
We orbited the moon like 10 times that year.
Exactly. And now we have Iron Man #1 in 1968. And yes, obviously it's not as important as those historical moments in time, but for Marvel, it's a big deal because we got to see a lot of premiere issues in 1968. And this is probably the second most valuable, just behind a Silver Surfer #1.
An origin issue, premiere issue, the first in his ongoing solo series, and the 3.5's up 8%, 6.0 15%, and the 6.5's up 18%.
The 8.5 is up 12% with a $1,650 sale, and the 9.2 hit $3,510, up 24% with a year-high sale. That number to me seems a bit aggressive, considering this book has sold all year between $2,500 to $3,000. And with 247 copies and a 9.2, that's actually a pretty high number. To see it trading at that is a little bit of an outlier vibe to me.
We're also seeing more of the Tom Cruise rumor mill starting to circulate again. We've been hearing this for years. I don't think it's actually going to happen, but Robert Downey Jr. being brought in as Victor Von Doom can't go up against a Iron Man variant. You would just have more Robert Downey Jr. on the screen, which I know probably they've thought about at least once or twice, but it seems more likely that we get an additional casting for Tony Stark. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe, but also do yourself a solid and download the best comic app in existence, Key Collector Comics. We source these 10 books from a list that comes out every week, days before we hit the mic. Use that code TOM101 for a free 2-week subscription and support the show. Next on the list from 1973, The Superhero Meets the Macabre with Ghost Rider #1, the first ongoing solo series of Johnny Blaze. The 5.5 is up 12%, the 7.0 6%, just like the 7.5. The 9.0 is up 7%, a 9.2 sold for $1,100, up 6%. Something I found pretty intriguing, Jeff, is that we haven't chatted about this book in about 3 months. And since then, the increase in census count. Listen to this. The 9.4 is up 1 copy. The 9.2, 2 copies. There were 6 new 9.8s added to the census in a short 3 months. That's 2 per month on a book that has a grand total at 9.8 of only 60 copies. Were these books just chilling in long boxes? What the hell?
It's tough because it's this interesting time in comic books, and there's a lot more out there raw than people probably truly understand. I heard of a story of an entire bundle still wrapped that someone discovered just 8 years ago when I was at a convention. So these books are out there. And so to see the 9.8s increasing more than the 9.2s, 9.4s, and 9.6s potentially is not really a surprise. But 60 copies in a 9.8, it's still a pretty spectacular book.
I can't help but think that people are looking at 2 different particular IPs to invest in as it pertains to old comic books. When they look at the slate that the MCU has over the next 10 years, really I see 2 different attractive IPs. X-Men and the macabre, the supernatural and horror. And the fact that we just heard about Mephisto and Agatha all along, even though it didn't end up turning out to be anything besides a clear, soft introduction of the character by name only, it also shows that there is an intention to focus in on the supernatural. We're even hearing rumors this week that Blade is back on schedule to begin filming as early as mid-next year. And with a focus on Blade means the Midnight Suns, Dracula, and this horror in general.
I'm looking forward to the horror, love The Werewolf by Night, but what I also love is this book at #8, Captain America #117. This is the first appearance of the Falcon. Obviously, this book's increasing due to the fact that we still have Sam Wilson playing Captain America in the Brave New World movie coming out. And it doesn't seem like there's going to be any slowing down of seeing him in future movies. But before I get to that, the 6.5 sold up 38%, the 7.0 up 29%, the 7.5 is up 9%, the 8.5 is up 13% with a $749 sale, and the 9.2 hits a year-high sale, up 66% for $2,640. This kind of feels like an outlier number to me. At $2,640, is it plausible? Yes. This book feels to me more like around a $2,000 book in 9.2. Now, there is half of their 9.2s than there are in comparison to the Iron Man 192s, but at $2,600, it feels a bit aggressive, and I've seen this 9.2. It's not like it's upgradable. It's a white pager, yes, but it's a 9.2, and to me, it feels like a soft 9.2. So keep an eye on it. I don't think you should jump in yet at this price point. Wait for another sale and give it a little bit more of a grounding point from that.
I don't really understand all the hate for this movie. I mean, the stuff that people are complaining about are stuff that's all behind the scenes. I don't care how hard it is to get to the screen. I want to see what the end result was. Hell, let's not forget, I really enjoyed Venom Last Dance, and I went to see it solely because of Null. And it appears that Null was added to the movie at the very end of production, like it almost didn't happen. Also, intriguing to hear that the post-credit scene is supposed to set us up for a future of the MCU, the Avengers specifically. So make sure to stay in your seats to the end of Brave New World. And we're also hearing rumors this past week that we may see a return of Chris Evans, Captain America. How? We don't know yet. But if they're bringing back Robert Downey, it's likely they'll bring back Chris Evans. He was just in Deadpool Wolverine. And there's another character on this list that we also may see a return of.
At 7, a movie that's hitting the screen but also not hitting the screen, Amazing Spider-Man number 15, first appearance of the Kraven.
Getting a little worried for this movie. It has no damn chance. All right, so in comparison to like Morbius and Madam Web, those were released nationwide to over 4,000 screens. Because Kraven is a December movie, which kind of took some balls to do, by the way. You know, most of the time these productions come out well before when there's less competition. But the holiday season, a lot of people visit the movie theater, so there's a lot of big blockbuster movies to compete with. This movie isn't even out, and it's already been pulled by upwards of 25+% of theaters. This movie has no chance.
Despite the handicap, there's still a chance this could become something good to watch in those 3,000 theaters and afterwards, and could potentially, God willing, be a cult classic.
The 2.0 for first appearance of Kraven had a year high at 473, up 19%. The 2.5 up 11%, 4.0 up 3%. 5.5 sold for $1,095. It was sub $1,000 all year, up 10%. 6.5 sold for $1,650, up 16%. These prices are prices that I think would be worthy if there was a movie or not.
I 100% agree. I mean, we are seeing consistent increases with key books across the board, and that is giving me a lot of hope that things are moving and people, even with a little bit of buzz, are jumping into key books regardless because they're seeing that the entry point is just something better than they've seen in the past.
Join the Mystery Mail Call. Support this video directly, and we'll send you comics every single month, one per box. Look at this beautiful collection of John Boy Myers variants. You're guaranteed one of them. Second guarantee in the box is a Moon Knight Fists of Khonshu New York City Comic Con exclusive by John Jang. ComicTom.com, link in the description. We pack each box with 4 to 5 different comics and exclusive comics, as well as prints and chances at other bonuses, things we throw in there, keys, and so much more.
You alluded to a character here at number 6, because we have Iron Man number 55. This is the first appearance of Thanos and Drax and his brother Eros, and so many others. Really a great book, and the first appearance of probably the number one villain that Marvel's ever brought to the silver screen. And if you think you're going to have RDJ, Chris Evans, and not have potentially Thanos back, you're crazy, because this character deserves to be back, because I would love to see an epic battle where Thanos might actually be on the side of good, fighting an evil Iron Man now.
A return of Josh Brolin going up against an evil Iron Man, or Victor Von Doom, or Victor Von Doom as Iron Man. I don't know. I don't care. I want to know your thoughts in the comment section below about this, because this book doesn't surprise me that it's getting the amount of love that it's getting, but also there isn't a whole lot to spec on with this book. So it shows that it's definitely cemented itself as one of the most important keys of our generation. We have a 3.5 up 11%, 4.0's up 7%. You can get a 4.5 for $355, up 5%.
The 5.5 is up 13%, the 7.0 is up 4%, and the 7.5 is up 10% with a $650 sale. We have 6 first appearances in this book, 3 of them which are fairly major, and this just tracks for me on the value of this book right now.
The numbers this week are very intriguing. I totaled up every single sale that took place above the recent 12-month average. And every week, that gives us a glimpse of how they are overall impacting the comic book marketplace. Last week, $80,000 moved, a lot of big ticket items. This week, about half as much. $40,000 in sales took place. But there are more transactions that took place this week than last week, which means people are looking at lower grade stuff and they're feeling confident in spec and investing because the prices are looking very palatable.
Numero cinco, Star Wars number 1, 1977. We had 6 sales with a 12-month average for $2,271. We had a 5.0 up 1%. The 6.5 is up 3%. The 8.5 actually hit a year-high sale up 45% with a $400 sale. But the 9.0 is just up 1% for $359. That 9.2 is up 40% with a $570 sale. And the 9.4 hit $629, up 27%.
The comics on this list are making me feel like the buyers are hoping for things to happen. They're hoping to see someone new cast as Tony Stark. They're hoping they see Ghost Rider in the Macabre. They're hoping that Iron Man 55 goes up because they want to see Thanos show up in the MCU again. And they're also hoping that A New Hope moves up in value. After we film this video, I'm going to go watch Skeleton Crew. I already have it loaded up, waiting for me. I'm super stoked. But you watched it this morning before you got here. What'd you think?
I was only able to digest 1 episode so far, so I'm excited to get to the second. And that says something. I just watched 1, and I'm excited to see the second. That's not usually the tale when it comes to Star Wars for me, and probably for a lot of people. But when I was growing up in the 80s, I saw this movie called The Last Starfighter, which this has the same vibe. Somebody finding a starship at a young age, going on this journey in space and exploring all that adventure. And it was so exciting for me, and it still resonates to this day as a film I really enjoyed. And I'm getting that vibe from this show, and I'm excited to see this cast of Skeleton Crew characters exploring space and getting into their journey of where they go in a universe like this and being something completely different than what I'm used to seeing with Star Wars.
Star Wars 1 has landed on the Hot 10 15 different times in 2024. And unlike many other books, there isn't a whole lot of news that you can relate to the collectible to make it make sense about why it's so volatile, why it's in and out of our list, why it's high on the list or low on the list. It seems like it's one of the safest books to invest in. You have to be careful with it because it's, again, a volatile book. But long term, it isn't going anywhere. It has staying power. And I can't say that about a lot of books that people buy in a given year.
At number 4 is a book that traded more hands than any other book on this list, but still only falls in the number 4 slot. We had 16 sales above the 12-month average for $3,946. That's almost $4,000 spent on this book. Again, we have Incredible Hulk 340. Todd McFarlane greatness. We all know this book. We've talked about this book, and it's on this list. Like Star Wars 1, that you were just talking about is just a safe bet of investment. This book is tracking to be like one of those books for all of 2024, just slightly moving up bit by bit.
Peep Key Collector for all the sales. I'll give you a taste of them. The 9.0, 3 copies outsold the recent 12-month average, the highest for an increase of 32%. The 9.2, 4 copies outsold the recent 12-month average for the highest at 29%. The 9.4, 4 copies outsold the recent 12-month average, the highest for a 30% increase. And the 9.6 sold for $475, up 34%.
Since this book was on the list last, about 2 weeks ago, we saw 40 new slabs hit the census, 7 of which are a 9.8. Now, with an ever-growing 9.8 census, we're actually seeing a potential opportunity to get this book at a discount because we just saw a 9.8 sell for 9.10. That's below the 12-month average. And that's not really shocking because we've kind of talked about this book. It's pretty common. It's a growing census, but does not matter. It's still a very in-demand book, and we're seeing people grabbing it in all grades.
We do giveaways every single week, and I want to make sure that everyone understands how they can enroll in all giveaways going forward. You just have to be signed up to our SMS group. This week, I'm giving away a first appearance of The Last Ronin in preview graded at a 9.9 by Peach Momoko. TMNT 110, baby. And you can join by going to comitom.com. Join the SMS group, keep up on our drops, but also be enrolled on all giveaways going forward. You just sign up once and you are in. And at number 3, out of freaking nowhere, X-Men 141, Days of Future Past. What's this book doing here? 8 different sales, nearly $3,000. Are they remaking this movie again and I just don't know about it?
I feel like I'm living in the past because why this book is here shocks me just as much as it shocks you. But it's a very obtainable book, and when you're talking about mutants, right now everything mutants is hot. I mean, we can see X-Men 101 go up, I'm sure, pretty quickly with the first appearance of Phoenix, and we've already seen her a couple times in film, and you think that's the last time we're going to see her? No. So to have this book here with 8 sales above the 12-month average is actually kind of fun to see because it's a very important story arc in comic books. The 9.4 is up 5% with a $220 sale. The 9.6 is up 16% with a $349 sale. And we had a newsstand 9.8 hit a year-high sale, up 26% for $1,260.
We also saw a record-breaking sale that hasn't been set since 2023 on a 9.4, where it sold for $305 then, and now up 15% for a sale of $350.
And let's not forget, Kevin Feige kind of teased at a potential Alpha Flight appearance, and that appearance is near this issue number, so that could be adding a little extra heat to anything surrounding those numbers.
Someone paid nearly $1,000 for this book at a 9.8 this year. Another member bought it for $300 in the same grade. Maybe it's because in the last 3 months, there's been an increase of 99.8s, number 2 on the list after an absence of 3 months. Wolverine number 1, Frank Miller.
I get the appeal of this book. I absolutely do, but you can't overpay on this book because it's such a rapid growing census in 9.8. You need to be paying $500. If you want to pay market, pay the $500, get this book in a night, and be happy with it. But you start going to the $600 range, it feels like you're being overly aggressive on something that you can potentially get for a lower value. We saw the 9.4 up 8% for $210.
Madam Web.
The 9.6 up 21% for $306. And the 9.8 up 9% for $654.
Overpayment. Like that right there shows it. I don't think this book is a $500+ book anymore. This is one that if you pay $500, you're paying top of the market. And if you go to a convention and you see this for $700, just be patient because that census count is moving up way too quick.
If you really value your dollar, take your time. Be patient. Mutants are coming. Hugh Jackman's back on that Wolverine train. He's probably not going anywhere. Neither is the character Wolverine. So this book is going to be around. And we're at over 4,200 9.8s now. So I can assume in about, 3 years, we could be almost hitting 5,000 copies potentially in a 9.8.
Let us know what you think. Is this the time to buy or sell your Wolverine? I think it's a time to hold or get it sub $500. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Subscribe to the channel. Do it for Comic Butch while we hit you with number 1 on the list. The number 1 hottest book in the world. We're talking 20 out of the 49 weeks in 2024. Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars number 8. The origin of the black symbiote costume. We're hearing rumors this week that add-in of Null in Venom Last Dance may actually lead us to a villain setup for Spider-Man 4. And if that happens, that means we have the closest thing to tying the Venom symbiote and symbiote lore in general to the greater MCU.
This is the closest we've ever come to having symbiotes in the MCU. And to have the god of symbiotes opening up that pathway with Null to do it is such a great way for that to happen. And fans are in love with this book, as we see it on this list every freaking week, it feels like. And we had 15 more sales above the 12-month average for $4,700 spent.
I'm only hitting you with a taste of it. Go peep Key Collector for all the numbers. The 9.6 had 7 copies outsell the 12-month average, the highest for an increase of 21% for $314. The 9.8 sold for $575, up 17%, and a newsstand 9.8 just sold for $970. That's an increase of 0%. But the fact that a 9.8 sold in a newsstand shows that people are specking on this book. So you don't buy a 9.8 newsstand to add to your PC randomly.
I'm optimistic for 2025. Follow me at Golden Age Guru on Instagram and keep an eye out on what I'm picking up because I do think there's a lot of potential in both growth and pickups for the entire hobby across the board in all types of genres.
I'll put the link in the description to follow the Guru. Follow me at Comic Tom 101. You're already doing that. And of course, as always,
You must geek responsibly.
enough said.